Hello, welcome back to We Are City channel for the start of the rebuild here in Season 2 in our FC 25 career mode. We've got the FIFA Club World Cup to start this series off before we get into the Premier League action. But in today's episode, I wanted to really concentrate on the squad building element of this career mode, which is where we're about to reboot and rebuild this Manchester City squad. You can see on the screen here, we're looking to play this season this sort of 4-2-4 formation with Marmoush playing just off Erling Haaland. We'll show how it will look in possession. It's going to look a bit different to that. This is the strongest 11, I think, at the moment, looking at the players that we've got in the squad currently. These are players, of course, that we will be using going into the FIFA Club World Cup. In possession-wise, I want to put out of possession on pressing the 4-4-2 or the 4-2-4. In possession-wise, I'm going to have Marmoush dropping behind Erling Haaland with Phil Foden sort of in support. And I want the right-back, whether it be Nunes, whoever, to bomb forward far on the right. So then we have sort of a 1 in Haaland, a 4 in behind. I want my left-back to tuck inside and make a 3 midfield. And then a 2 at the back in Diaz and Stones or whoever it will be in that situation. That is the way I'm looking at it as our strongest 11 currently with the squad we've got. And I've put players in positions where I think they would play. We see we're very stacked on the left hand side, particularly stacked on the right side, you could say. Forward areas we're lacking a little bit. Midfield we've got options, but maybe not options that we're happy with. Defensive good options again, but again maybe options we're happy with. Right back, Nunes and Lewis at right back. Stones, Akanji, Kusanov and Heiss all sort of right centre back position. And then left back, there's pretty much only Vardiel who plays there. I know Lewis can play there as well, maybe Ake could play there. But there's certainly in this side, you can see there are holes in the side, there are issues that we want to improve upon. And we can say that City, some of these players have played decent towards the end of the season in Season 1 before, in the previous episodes. We know some of these players have done pretty well, might do pretty well in the FIFA Club World Cup and perform. That being said, I'm not confident with them, and that is why we are here to start the rebuild, to completely try and overhaul this squad. One that can be a Premier League champion and a Champions League winner once again going into Season 2. So currently in the goalkeeper situation, which I think is a bit of an issue, we've got Scott Carson, who has announced he will be retiring at the end of the season. So Scott Carson will be moving on. He's been a legend for the club. He's been at the club for a very long time. He's 39 years of age, he's nearly 40. His time is up. We've got Stefan Ortega, who's unhappy with his play time in Season 1. He feels like he's not played enough football, and he will have only 12 months left in his contract going into next season. So that's an issue as well with the goalkeeper situation. Do we get rid of Stefan Ortega, or do we try and keep him to stick around as the second choice goalkeeper and then look to try and move on Ederson, who's tried to move the club before? He's tried to leave to Saudi. He's 31 now. He's coming towards maybe the end of his cycle here at Manchester City. 9 years together, him and Pep Guardiola. But Ederson's asked to leave before, and I feel like getting a first choice goalkeeper is more important maybe than a second choice goalkeeper. So the first area of the pitch we're going to pick out as an area which we really need to improve on going to next season, an area we need to address is that goalkeeper area. Next up is centre-back. We've got Jamai Simpson-Pouze, who has played a few games for Manchester City this season, but I don't think he's one that impressed. He didn't get any game time under us in Season 1. We didn't have to play him despite defensive injuries. We kept him out the side. I mean, he's nearly 70 rated at 19. He's certainly some part of his game which is pretty good. City have gone and brought in Vita Heiss, haven't they, in the January window? That is a very much a Hugo Viana signing. He looks like he's going to have a lot of potential. He looks like a young John Stones, really, doesn't he? And I'd like him to be that John Stones to the City side, if possible, for the future. Now, he's only 75 rated, only 19, so that is something we need to build upon. John Stones himself, who we're saying Vita Heiss is the new John Stones, he's 31. He's not had a lot of games due to injury, and we just can't trust him with those injury issues. It feels like no matter what, Stones is going to be injured, and that is an issue. His fitness, when he plays, he's great, but he might be in for a week and out for a month. And the same a little bit goes for Nathan Ake, who's a little bit unhappy with his play time at the moment. I think in the pecking order, purely because Ake's left-footed, he's a little bit above my list of I want him to keep maybe more than John Stones because he's left-footed. He had some balance. Vita Heiss and Kusanov came in January. They're both right-footed. Manu Akanji is right-footed. Diaz is right-footed. Stones is right-footed. So I think we need to keep a left-footer around. Akanji I'm not entirely confident with. I mean, I think he's one when fully fit is a very good third or fourth choice centre-back option behind maybe a Diaz, an Ake and someone else. So for that reason, I think Akanji is going to be sticking around. Out of the choices, it's going to have to be Stones or Ake that leaves. And I'm leaning towards more John Stones leaving. We've also got Ruben Diaz as well, who is going nowhere. He's one of our key players in the side. Yes, he's had a bit of a poor form in the last 2 seasons, I'd say, especially this year. I mean, he's getting on now. He's 28 years of age. He's approaching the latter stages of his centre-back career. So we'd like to keep him around and build a team with him. We've also got maybe someone like Callum Doyle that could be put in the squad. He spent the year on loan at Norwich City. He could go out on loan again to someone else in the Championship or maybe in the Premier League next time to continue his progress as a defender. He's highly rated within the City side, but whether he makes it or not is another question. And finally, a man who is really impressed and maybe could be the one to be a starting centre-back next season, Abu Qadir Kusanov, who has been a revelation since joining Manchester City. He's not the finished article, he's only 21 years of age, but there's high hopes for him, isn't he, in this City side. So when we look at the centre-back situation, that is one that we'd like to address as well. We expect that maybe Stones is going to go, he's probably more likely to go, and then it's between Ake and Akanji, who goes between them as well, possibly, or do we stick to the centre-back positions? That is probably, we'll have a look at the pecking order, really, of positions we need to bring in. We can't bring in 10 players, we can't bring in 7 players. I think 6 players maximum is what we're going to be able to bring in this transfer window, and maybe because of the amount of centre-backs we've got and the fact that we've spent money in January on centre-backs, we'll push that down the list a little bit. Now onto the right-back situation, where Kyle Walker is currently on loan at AC Milan. He will not be sticking with the club. Either Milan will sign him permanently or will move him on somewhere. That is the intention. I have no intention at all of keeping Kyle Walker at the club. He's asked to leave. He's 35. He's 76 rated. He's certainly on the decline. He's on the decline away from Manchester City. We've got Issa Kabore, who could come into the side and play a bit of football for us next season. Guardiola's been pressing him in training at times, but he's still out on loan. I don't see it for Issa Kabore. He's 24 now, 75 rated. And the intention is to try and sell him, move him on, progress his career, and also find maybe a bit of profit for him if that's possible. And not only is Issa Kabore right now, we've also got Rico Lewis, who, yeah, I'm not sure on Rico Lewis. He's not a right back. Is he a central midfielder? Is he attacking midfielder? I don't know. Any of those positions, I don't think are quite his position. And for that reason, Nunez, of course, can play there as well. Right back is the third area where we need to try and address some problems in this side in the rebuild. And it doesn't stop there, does it, with these issues? Because Joško Vardiol is pretty much the only left back in the side. He's 86 rated. I think he's going to be a left back. I don't see him being a centre-back. I think he's too technically gifted to be left at centre-back. I think he's get better in forward areas. We've got Esbrand as well in the side, but again, he's only on 22 now. When he first broke into that City side a little bit, he looked like someone to really be a key player, but he's been out on loan quite a few times. He's never since really impressed. He's been injured too many times as well. So I'm not banking on Joshua Esbrand playing a big role in our side at all, or a role at all. And as for Christian McFarlane, who's joined the first team now, or joined the club, a move from New York City FC. City have been monitoring his development for a long time. He is a player that I think has got high potential in the future. He's only 18 years of age. However, again, I don't see him being part of the first team area. We've played Nico Riley at left back at times. He's more of a midfielder than Nico Riley. So Vardiol will be the only left back. We need to bring in someone there as well. And I think in that area, trying to not make too many signings really and trying to keep it realistic. I think if we brought in a right back and we brought in then a right back / left back, somebody who can play on both sides, and then you've got Rico Lewis and O'Reilly can fill in there as well, but someone who can play left back and right back plus just an out and out right back, that is the sort of target and sort of players I'm looking for. Then we get into the midfield areas, which have been some of the big problems for Manchester City throughout this season, haven't we, in this first season. And obviously, so Calvin Phillips, a player who's been on loan at Ipswich, no intention of him for playing for Manchester City. I mean, he's 29 years of age, 75 rated. City paid 43 million for Calvin Phillips, and they will never get that sort of money back. We've got Rodri coming back from injury, which is a massive, massive plus for the side. Mr. Ballon d'Or, the best midfielder in the world. With him coming back, that puts City in a good position. I think already that elevates our midfield from what it was massively. I know he's 28 years of age. He's getting towards the latter stage of his career as well. We don't exactly know how he's going to return from that ACL injury. It might take him a little bit of time to get back up to speed, but he's a key player. And the same goes for Nico Gonzalez as well, who's been brought in as a sort of player who can play alongside Rodri and instead of Rodri. He's a good signing. He's only 23. Play performance, team performance wise, they're down at the moment. He's not been playing amazing for us, but I think alongside Rodri, they'll form a good partnership, and instead of Rodri, he'll be a really good player as well. I think it's going to take time for him to adapt. We've got Mamadou Sissoko in the side. He's a young player, 20 years of age, who I'll look to try and either loan out or sell for profit. He looked good in pre-season, actually, right at the start of season 1. But other than that, I don't think City, I don't think he's going to make it into our first team, despite showing some really good qualities. I mean, maybe if we need a backup player to fill in the squad roles. İlkay Gundogan, whose contract is up at the end of this season. I have no intentions, I don't believe, of renewing İlkay Gundogan's contract. I think it's time for İlkay Gundogan to go. I think bringing him back was a massive mistake. I know this in real life is some sort of thing where if he's played so many games, his deal gets renewed. We can't be doing that. In this save, in this career mode, in this rebuild, I am not having a 34-year-old 77 rated İlkay Gundogan in the side. Mateo Kovacic is a strange one because he's 31. He's at the latter stage of his career. He's a relatively decent squad player, but I'm not exactly sure where he lies in this City side for the future. I think if we bring in midfielders, then maybe Kovacic is asked to move on. I think he's one of those that we listen to offers to if they come in. Bernardo Silva, he's only 30. He's actually not as old as you think he is. But he's slowed down massively. He's asked to leave City 3 or 4 times. He's got a contract situation which is not great. And he's one again where I think he's at the point where if we are going to be a big side for the future, we've got to let him move on. And the same also sort of applies for Matheus Nunes. I think he's a player that is a decent squad player. I think he wants to be more than that. But he's been brought in as a midfielder and never plays in midfield. Pep Guardiola does not trust him in midfield. He's playing at right back, left wing, places other than central midfield. I think he's been a really poor signing, and the intention is just to move him on. Maximo Perrone spent the loan at Como, 78 rated. However, he isn't so keen on returning to Manchester City. He has done interviews and said that he wants to play for Como, stay at Como, or move again, maybe permanently away from City. I would like to get him on a loan. Maybe they have an obligation to buy, and then maybe try and trigger that to bring him back, or a buyback clause in there. Nico O'Reilly, who I am looking towards using a lot more in this series. I want him to be more of a key player in this City midfield going into the next season, because I do think he's got potential to be top quality. He's a big physical force in midfield, and he's very technically gifted. So midfield becomes position number 5, an area where we need to improve upon. Nico, Bernardo, Gundogan role. We're saying that maybe Bernardo goes, maybe Gundogan goes. That leaves us 1 more light. If Kovacic goes as well, that might leave us 2 lights as well. So certainly in that central midfield area, we're looking for 2 midfielders, possibly 2 different midfielders, which we'll later explain. And the final area of issue in the side comes at attacking midfield, with Kevin De Bruyne out of contract at 33 years of age. He's down. He's really decreasing overall to 86 rated. He's come to the end of his City cycle, I do believe, Kevin De Bruyne. I mean, there's a suggestion that we could sign him on a 1-year deal, maybe another contract for him to stay at City just for 1 more year and play out his time there. But we've got Phil Foden in that attacking midfield role, who has had a poor season, maybe could play in wide areas for us, hasn't been so creative. I think we need to get him back to his best. I think to get him back to his best, maybe Kevin De Bruyne shouldn't be in that role. And we'll look to bring in a real creative force in that midfield to take the weight off Phil Foden. James McAtee's one that Pep Guardiola rates highly, and I'd like to keep him around the Manchester City side, but we do know with McAtee that he wants more game time. He's out of contract, I think, at the end of the season or a year ahead, so that is something we need to address, that area, because if you want to keep him around, we've got to convince him that he's going to play. Those are the 6 areas I do believe the side needs improvement upon this time in the rebuild. We will look towards the future as well, maybe other positions, but ranking them, if I was to rank them, I think goalkeeper's a massive one, right back's a massive one, central midfield's a massive one, then centre forward, or sort of that attacking midfield free role, then left back, and then centre back. If they're the 6 we're going for. If we have to sign 2 players in one position, say 2 midfielders, that would mean that then we don't go for a centre back. Maybe we deal with what we've got. We've got a lot of centre backs, we've got a lot of bodies in there, and if we can keep Ake fit for the season, or relatively fit, Akanji as well, Kusanov and Hayes stepping up, Peter Hayes as well, Stones maybe leaving the club, I think that puts us in a good position. That's the way I rank things. That's the way we're looking at things in improving this side. That is what the key positions are looking for in the rebuild. So let's go into a little more detail in who's leaving first, and then who we're looking to bring in. So as for definite departures, starting things off with Kevin De Bruyne. 1 month left on his contract, the 33-year-old. The intention is to let him leave Manchester City without a doubt. He is going to be a definite removal from the side, a definite departure from the team. A club legend, an amazing player, but his time is up. Anyone who's going to be a definite departure, we're going to put with a yellow arrow, and De Bruyne is number 1. Up next is central midfield. İlkay Gundogan, 1 month left on his contract. These are the key areas we want to improve, and I don't think we can improve at the side if İlkay Gundogan is there. So we'll let him leave on a free transfer. and we're going to try and move on Bernardo Silva as well. I do believe with 1 year and 1 month left on his contract, we either sell him now or let him go on a free next summer. The intention is to try and get some money back to reinvest back into the side, even if it's only 30 million, 35 million euros or so. We want Bernardo Silva to go. So if Bernardo and Ilkay Gundogan were to go, this is how the side would be looking there. That's 2 more midfielders gone in the key areas there, which again, I mean, that really says to us, midfield attacking areas, those are big issues in the team. On to the next one, which is John Stones. I think that Stones has to leave the club. I think it is time up for John Stones. He just can't stay fit. And again, like Bernardo Silva's situation, like a lot of players in this City side, with 1 year and 1 month left on the contract, you either give them a new deal or you lose them on a free. And I don't want to lose these players in a free. I do want to try and get a little bit of money back because we are looking for a big investment in the side. I think John Stones, unfortunately, is the one to be sacrificed. He's going to be another definite departure. And that's 4 massive club legends there already that we're saying are going in this rebuild. Like I said, this is going to be a massive overhaul of this Manchester City squad. And the next big area is goalkeeper. Another massive departure. It would be another club legend. 5, really. It'll be Ederson. He's not signing a new deal at City. There was negotiations. He rejected it. He wanted to move to Saudi. Same situation. You either let him go for money now or you lose him on a free. And we want to get some money back in for Ederson. So that is 5 massive departures away from the side. 5 absolutely giant departures and definite departures that we think are going to leave the club. De Bruyne, Bernardo, Gundogan, Ederson and Stones. Those 5 legends we have officially decided we're going to let go. Definitely. They have to go. It's time to go. Especially the contract situations. And now those are 5 massive players to try and replace and improve upon the side with, because they're 5 winners. And we need 5 younger winners that are hungry to take this side back to the top level once again. And of course, we've got a few uncertainties in the side again. Some players in a similar situation, 1 year and 1 month left on their deal, meaning we either lose them on a free next year or we sign up to a new deal. And a lot of these players we don't want to give new contracts to. Stefan Ortega is one. Mateo Kovacic, his future is uncertain at Manchester City. We're not exactly sold on him. Jack Grealish, you could add into that as well, just below him there. Again, a player that we don't want to get down to 1 year on his contract. Kovacic is older. McAtee, who we want to keep around, really, James McAtee. I have high hopes for him. I think Pep Guardiola does really rate him, but it comes down to James McAtee. With that situation, his contract, does he decide that he wants to move on? He's certainly got an uncertain future at Manchester City. And the same goes for Matheus Nunes as well in midfield. And it doesn't stop there, because there is actually some others as well that you could say are uncertainties in the side. So if we have a look at actually the full squad on the screen, once again, we'll put different colour arrows to see those uncertainties. So the uncertainties would say are Stefan Ortega, Matheus Nunes, Manu Akanji, Nathan Ake, Mateo Kovacic, James McAtee and Jack Grealish. So you've got 5 legends for definite we're going to move on. But there's 7 players there that we think are uncertain on their futures as well. And that does make it a massive squad overall, and probably too much of an overhaul to do in one single transfer window, in one season anyway. And it's something I think we'd have to do halfway. We're going to have to do half of it and then worry about doing it again next summer to try and continue rejuvenating this side, because we can't move all those players on and we can't make so many signs to replace all those players either. So if you remove those 5 certainties who we expect to leave the side out of the squad straight away, you can see where the big issues lie within the team. We need a new choice, number 1. We certainly need a new right back anyway, even if Nunes does stick around. Centre-back is not too bad. Left-back, we still need a new left-back. Attacking midfield, we're lacking in those forward areas. And in central midfield, we've got big issues as well. You can see where the areas pop up. And certainly goalkeeper, attacking midfield, right-back and central midfield do certainly stand out as the top 4 really. Left-back as well. Centre-back, due to the numbers and the bodies we've got, I'm not too worried about that situation, maybe. Now, James McAtee is a player we're going to try and sign down to a new contract. And there's quite a few players I'd like to give a second chance to. So Nathan Ake, Manu Akanji, I don't think centre-back can still be considered a problem area. I think with Akanji, Ake, Diaz, Kusanov and Pace, we're going to be fine with those 5 for next season. So we're going to keep those around. And the uncertainties then gets cut down to just 3 uncertainties. Grealish, Kovacic and Nunes. They're the 3 extra uncertainties. So 5 legends certain to leave, and then possibly 3 extra players. That would take us up to 8. We're going to keep Ortega around as well as a second choice goalkeeper. We're going to convince him to stay 1 more year and have the opportunity to leave on a free next year. I'm happy to let Ortega leave on a free. If that's the case, they're bringing in a new number 1 now. So that does leave us, and you can see the areas. So centre-back's not going to be an issue anymore. Nunes and Kovacic and Grealish could go as well. But they're the 3 that might stick around more so. The other 5 are definite departures. But if Grealish, Kovacic and Nunes were to go as well, you can really see where the problematic areas are opening up in this Manchester City side, in this rebuild, if we are going to overhaul the squad as big as we're planning to with so many players going. So for the centre-back situation, with a young Vita Heist being maybe a 5th choice centre-back, developing well in City, spending lots of money on 2 centre-backs in the January transfer window, I think centre-back has to come down our list of important things because of Vita Heist and because of the emergence of Abu Kadir Kusanov as well. I think in centre-back, we're going to say that is a problem that we're going to push down the line till another transfer window, maybe next summer. And for now, we're going to focus on the key positions, not centre-back included. So Ake is going to stick around, the Kanji, Kusanov, Heist and Diaz are going to stick around. And we're going to focus on an attacking, sort of free-flowing, creative player to back up Omar Marmoush. Central midfielders and a defensive midfielder, someone who's more of a passer, a controller of the game, someone who's a real energetic destroyer, a real engine in midfield. A right-back who's a pure attacking right-back. A fullback who can play left or right, very two-footed, and a first-choice goalkeeper. Those are the 6 signings this Manchester City side are going to look to bring in. And there you are, you can see a bit more clearly there with the dots. So, goalkeeper, number 1, a right-back. A right winger that's going to drift inside because we are going to play the 4-4-2. So this is the way we're looking at the team now when it lines up with the options we want to bring in. So a goalkeeper, a left back, a right back, a central midfielder, the holding midfielder, and a right winger who can drift inside. This is how I am looking at it and saying I think this could be our first choice starting 11 going into the new season. That is how I see it looking at that team. So we can see the areas of the team we'd like to improve upon. I'd like to show you what I want this side to look like in possession as well, so you can understand the sort of players we are looking for. And we mustn't forget as well that Scott Carson is retiring, so we need to take him out of there. A 3rd choice goalkeeper will just be someone who's a homegrown goalkeeper on a free transfer, and I don't consider them a major signing at all. That's just a small hole in the side. But with knowing the players that are going to stick around, we know who are going to be our key players for the season, and for that reason there's a few players that I'd like to go into and offer new contracts to build the side around. You can see where the spine of the team is built there. Erling Haaland, Phil Foden, Joško Vardiol, Ruben Diaz, Rodri. That is like the spine of this Manchester City side. And all 4 of those players, I do believe, need new contracts, although some have already signed one. Because Erling Haaland did sign that massive 10-year deal with Manchester City, taking him till 2034 with the club, which is a massive contract for Erling Haaland to sign. And it shows that he's going to be the key man at striker at Manchester City for the future, whether that is the next 2 seasons. Maybe Guardiola signs for longer, maybe he doesn't. But Erling Haaland is a key in the spine of our team, and the rest of the spine of our team needs also rewarding as well. Now, Rodri's been out of the season with an ACL injury. He's got 2 years and 1 month left on his contract. He deserves to be rewarded with a new deal, and we do manage to tie Rodri down to a new contract till 2029. A contract extension for Rodri, for Mr. Ballon d'Or, and the man who is one of the best midfielders, if not the best midfielder in the world. I do think he's going to transform the side, get him back into the team, and back in that starting 11. We're going to be so much better. The same goes for Ruben Diaz, who's got another 2-year deal only left on his remaining deal. 2 years would take him to 30, but intention is for him to be built around him as the first choice centre-back at the back. Maybe next season, next summer, we're going to neglect centre-back now and look to bring in a partner for him, unless Kusanov really does develop well, and Vita Heist as well. But he signs a new 2-year extension till 2029 also, and we continue building up on the spine of the team with Phil Foden. Yes, Phil Foden's had a really poor season, but before that, he was player of the year. He was player of the Premier League, and he was absolutely amazing. We think we can get him back to his best next year. He signs a 3-year contract extension that will take him to his 30s as well at Manchester City till 2030. A big contract extension, a reward not for his performances, for what the future aims to bring, and hopefully that motivates Phil Foden to get back to his best in this Manchester City side. Another player I wanted to reward was one who I think is the spine of the team at left back, Joško Vardiol, who was last season, I think, maybe our player of the season. He's got 3 years left on his current deal, which would take him to 26 years of age. We want to give him a big extension, and we do sign him a big extension. Hugo Viana signs him down till 2030. Joško Vardiol is staying long-term at Manchester City. So the spine of the team sorted. This is how we want the team to look tactically going into next season. You can see the goalkeeper role, the 2 centre-backs. The midfielder is Rodri Holding with 1 central midfielder on the other side of him, and Vardiol, the fullback, pushing in into the midfield as well, making it a 3. You've got your 2 wingers. One is created by the right wing back, or the right centre-back, right back, sorry, attacking, becoming that right winger there. And then Foden coming in from the right-hand side, and the new attacking midfield coming in from the right-hand side. Marmoush on that left and Haaland through the middle. That is how the side is going to look. So it's going to be a 2-3-4-1. That's the way we're going to play with it throughout the season. I'm really excited to use this formation, pressing a 4-2-4, going to that formation in possession. You can see the areas we're looking for. So we're looking for a number one goalkeeper, a sweeper goalkeeper. We're looking for a dictator of the tempo, a real good passer to back up Rodri in that holding, a sort of metronome in that midfield, in that Rodri role. To start ahead of Nico, I think, or to battle with Nico, is a real engine, an energetic midfielder. Well, a left back who can drift inside, but also can play right back if needed. A right back who's really, really attacking, pretty much a right winger. And we want a right winger, someone who can play to the right or the left, who like to drift inside and play a creative attacking midfield role. Those are the signs we're looking for. Those 6 players, I think, take this Manchester City side back to the level we want to be. So the question is, who are our transfer targets? The target number 1 for Hugo Viana is goalkeeper. We've got a €75 million budget for 82 plus goalkeepers. Starting off, we've got Diogo Costa of FC Porto, a player he knows well from his time in Liga NOS. I mean, look at that, 95 kicking, 86 reflexes, 83 position, 83 diving. He has been linked heavily with City. Another top goalkeeper, a bit higher rated, is Gregor Kobel of Borussia Dortmund, a bit older than Diogo Costa, actually quite a bit older, but an experienced goalkeeper who's been playing well in the Bundesliga. However, on the ball ability, I don't think he's at the level of Diogo Costa. Only 77 kicking for Gregor Kobel. Probably does drop in a little bit further down that list of goalkeeper options compared to Diogo Costa. We've got Marcin Bulka of OGC Nice. Now, he's playing for a side owned by Jim Ratcliffe, who's the Man United owner, so I think if they were to sign Bulka, look for a new goalkeeper, maybe they'd be going for him. But he's certainly a goalkeeper Manchester City should be interested in. He's 82 rated. I think he'll come a lot cheaper than the others. Kobel's going to cost, I think, €80 million. I think Diogo Costa's going to cost his release clause of €75 million. Unai Simon was on the list, but he's now off the list because Paris Saint-Germain, clearly the manager Luis Enrique has had a bit of a trouble with Donnarumma and his ball playing ability. You know Simon from the Spanish national side, and he's gone and brought him in. We've got Di Gregorio of Juve. He's one that could be a really good option. He's been on loan at Juve. They've signed him permanently. They're not doing amazingly well. Again, he's a 27-year-old goalkeeper, but he's got good kicking. He's also going to come in a lot cheaper than the likes of Diogo Costa and co. Bart Verbruggen, who doesn't meet our criteria of an 82 rated plus goalkeeper. I think he's just not on the level we want, and I don't think his performances at Brighton have been amazing. And then we've got James Trafford, who City have a £40 million buyback clause on James Trafford. He's impressed massively in the Championship, got a lot of clean sheets. The question is, can you win the Premier League, the Champions League with a goalkeeper like James Trafford? We also have Jean Garcia, who doesn't quite meet our criteria, but he's been a goalkeeper who is in the sort of style of David Raya, really impressing in La Liga for Espanyol, and he could be another good option for us. But maybe a few of these goalkeepers, like Jean Garcia, are a backup to the starter, although I think at 80 rated at 24, he's probably way too good to be a backup. And we also have Mads Hermansen of Leicester City. He's managed to stay up in this save with Leicester. They weren't relegated, somehow they got out with it. 90 kicking tells you all you need to know about the goalkeeper. A really good ball-playing goalkeeper. Been linked with City in the past. City scouts have probably always kept an eye on him, and his development is pretty good. He'd be not so expensive to bring in a goalkeeper who's Premier League experienced. And then finally, Zion Suzuki, who doesn't meet our criteria of overall rating, but he's another goalkeeper that has been linked with Manchester City, a young goalkeeper developing well. But I think we're going to go for one of those higher rated goalkeepers in the decision of who we bring in the goalkeeper situation. Up next, it is on to our fullback situation, where we are looking for a new sort of right back, left back. We're looking for a very attacking right back, someone who can play as a winger, a right winger at times in possession. And we're looking for a left back that can do that, can play on the right hand side, but also can play at left back and drift inside and go infield as well. So we're looking for two different types of fullbacks. You've got to remember as well, and this is something to mention, in a 25-man squad in the Premier League, you need to have 8 homegrown players. Look at this Manchester City starting squad that we've got at the moment. We've got McAtee, Bob, Foden, Lewis, O'Reilly. Ake counts as homegrown. That is 6. So we are sort of 2 down in that situation. So homegrown players do actually tip it over the edge in their favour sometimes as well, and that will reflect in some of our transfer targets, especially in these outfield areas. So we've got a combined 100 million to spend on 2 fullbacks on the left and right hand side. Omar Al Hilali is one who's been really impressing Espanyol. He can play both sides. He can even play centre-back, but I'm not exactly sure he's the level we want. Maybe he's the backup. Olaina, despite being Nigerian, would count as a homegrown option because of his time in the Chelsea youth system. So he's one that stands out to me as a decent option. Really, really pacey, which I think is something we do lack in our defensive areas, is quick players to try and control the counter-attack. So he does stand out. Kyle Walker-Peters can play on the left or right, just like Aina. So Aina can play left or right, as can Kyle Walker-Peters as well. So he stands out as a player that can play on either side. He's been relegated with Southampton. He'd be very, very cheap to bring in as a backup. But the favourite really for this position is one heavily linked with City. I mean, statistically, he's a real all-rounder. Can play left or right, 5-star weak foot. Left or right back is no problem for him. He's naturally a right back, apparently, despite being left-footed. He can play right mid as well. So he said about we want a right back who can attack up the right-hand side. He can certainly do that. And he says fullback who likes to drift inside as well. So Andrea Cambiasso, going to cost big money maybe. But I think for the combined €100 million, he would be probably my #1 choice of a fullback who can do both sides. We do want quality players. We don't just want to be looking for, you know, someone like Kyle Walker-Peters all the time. And last on the list is Jeremy Frimpong. He can play that attacking right back role amazingly well. He's come through our youth system. He counts a homegrown player, and he has a €40 million release clause. So for budget-wise, that would be absolutely amazing. On towards now the central midfielder position. We're looking for two midfielders, a sort of holding midfielder in that Rodri role, someone, or two different types of midfielders really. We're looking for one midfielder who is an engine, who is a powerhouse, who can cover ground and get up and down the field, a real box-to-box engine of a midfielder, which I think we do lack in that City side. Someone who's got legs in that midfield, which we do lack, massively lack. And also someone who's more of a controller, someone who can dictate the tempo, a bit of a metronome in that midfield, and a real good passer of the football, who is very, very careful in possession. The sort of box-to-box, energetic, all-round midfielder, we're looking at Brighton's Carlos Baleba, who's been amazing for them in the Premier League this season. However, price tag is going to be a big stumbling block, maybe over €100 million Brighton would want. We've got Edison of Atalanta, who is actually out of contract at the end of next season. He could be in a cut price deal, heavily linked to Manchester City. And we've also got Bruno Guimaraes of Newcastle. Whether Newcastle are willing to let him go, I'm not sure. Out of these three sort of real midfield engines, I think Edison is the most attainable for Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. For controllers in the midfield, we're looking at Samuel Ricci of Torino, a passer, someone who can control the game from a holding midfield role, someone who models his game on Rodri. He would be good to see in that area, not too expensive, I don't think, as well. Angelo Stiller of Stuttgart, who was from the Bayern youth system, might end up going back there. Passing wise, I mean, 87 passing would be amazing as a controller metronome in there. The only issue lies with his pace. And then the other one is Adam Wharton, who passing wise is absolutely unbelievable, and he fulfills the homegrown quota. Crystal Palace are relegated in this career mode, meaning he could be available in a bit of a cut price deal actually, which could be an amazing sign in that City team. So we've identified the goalkeepers we want, we've identified the fullbacks we could move for, and the central midfielders as well. It's time for what could be the most key and is going to be the most expensive transfer of this transfer window, and the one we've got most options in, because I'm so uncertain about who to bring in, what kind of player I want to bring in. It is the sort of attacking midfield role, someone who can play off the wide area and drift inside, but also someone that can just play as a number 10 like Kevin De Bruyne did for Manchester City. And their main focus is someone who can create chances for the club. A real cheaper option, we've got Enzo Mille of Stuttgart. He could be someone to come in, bring energy and creativeness in that midfield, but I think he's sort of like a backup option. We've got a budget of €120 million to spend on this player. That's how much we're willing to spend if it does mean going for big money players. Florian Wirtz, obviously his name will come to him, but Xavi Simons from the Bundesliga to me seems like a really good alternative. He's available for maybe around €80 million, 86 rated. Look at those dribbling and passing stats. He's relatively quick as well, a good shooter. We've got Oyan Sanket of Athletic Club. Now, getting someone to move away, these Basque players never want to leave. But I mean, look at that, 87 dribbling, 84 passing, 85 shooting. He would be amazing. He would be absolutely amazing. He can play striker as well. I just don't think you want to drift into that right side. For a homegrown option, we've got Morgan Gibbs-White of Forest. Whether after what they've achieved and done this season, he would move away from the club, he could be a really good option in that area to go and bring in and be the backup towards Phil Foden. Of course, everyone, the name on everyone's lips is Florian Wirtz. Perhaps prefers a move to Bayern Munich or Real Madrid ahead of Manchester City, and maybe €120 million won't be enough to secure the sign of Florian Wirtz. Former City youth player Morgan Rogers is on my list. He can play out wide and drift inside. Good pace, good dribbling, but I don't think he's got the passing creativeness we're looking for to replace Kevin De Bruyne. the real powerhouse player. And a few players a little bit further down the list, we've got a Ukrainian midfielder, Sudakov, who's playing his game for Shakhtar Donetsk. He has been linked with City as an option. I think he'd be very expensive for what he is. And also a Croatian. Croatians have done pretty well at City, haven't they? Martin Baturina. But again, we're looking for an 82 plus rated player. Someone to replace De Bruyne. And I think those final two in the list are just not the level this Manchester City side are looking for. The same goes for Bilal Al-Khanous, who's a little bit too far down in the pecking order of attacking midfielders. One thing we haven't really mentioned in today's episode is the big fringe players in this side. Players we're looking to move on top of the main ones. Josh Wilson-Esbrand, I don't think his time at Manchester City is going to be here. Christian McFarlane in the left-back role. Intention is to loan him out and continue his development. I'd like him to come back from loan, a 70-rated player. I think that would be a really good move for this City side if we can develop him. And I actually think he's going to be a great player. Juma Bar, who's playing on loan at Lyon, he is part of the squad. Again, we're looking to loan him out, and then next season, if Akanji was to leave, the intention is for Akanji to leave on next year. I want to bring in Jumabar next season and say, you're going to play 5th choice role. Hopefully by then, Peter Heiss is developed. Jamai Simpson-Pouze, I'm not exactly sure on him. I'm not particularly sold him in the defensive areas, but a low move away from the club is a chance for him to try and impress in his Manchester City team in the future by developing on loan. We're going to try and get him a Championship loan, a League One loan, somewhere like that where he can develop better. Callum Doyle also, I mean, I don't know whether Doyle goes into the sort of Taylor Harwood-Bellis category where he goes on a loan with an option to buy to a Championship side. Say if they get promoted, they have to buy him, and then we watch very closely his development, because I think Juma Bar ahead of him at the moment in terms of developing young centre-backs. We've got Kyle Walker, who's a French player, but he's going absolutely away from Manchester City. Whether Milan at the end of this loan, when we get to the 1st of July, decide to trigger the €5 million buy in his contract, I don't know. If they don't, I don't care. I will terminate his contract and let him go for a free. We have to get rid of Kyle Walker. All means necessary. Iskabore, we have mentioned he's a proper right back in the side. He is going to be moved on the club on a permanent deal this time. I think loans, there's too many loans for Iskabore. It is time up for him at Manchester City, and it's time to move away from the club. 75 rated player. It is time to get him away and to move him somewhere else. Into also Jadel Katongo. He's going to be offered to a loan to somewhere. But at 20, he's a versatile player. I just don't see where he's going in his development, really. You've got to be very special to break into this Manchester City side. I think that is the key. And you've got to be developing at a high level at a young age. We've got Jacob Wright, who spent the season on loan at Norwich. We will look to loan him out again. There's high hopes for Jacob Wright. There was an option to buy for Norwich to buy him permanently at the end of the season on the 1st of July. Whether Norwich decide to trigger that, I'm not entirely certain. I think they will send him back to Manchester City. And if that is the case, then we will look to loan him out once again and then continue development. Calvin Phillips, he will not be a Manchester City player. We will do everything to sell him. I don't think Ipswich will buy him in the Championship. If we can get €10 million for him, I'll be happy. I think we might be lucky to get that. Just to get him off the books will be massive for this City team. That's what we need to do. Mohamedou Sissoko, we mentioned before, a loan move away from the club is our intention, or a permanent move if that's a possibility for the midfielder. But his future does not lie at Manchester City, I don't think. His development is not quite at the rapid rate we need for him to be starting or being part of this big squad here at Manchester City as we continue to build it. And we're bringing a lot of players in. Maximo Perón, high hopes for him. I think another loan with an option to buy might be on the course for him. And then maybe we can sort of convince him to come back in a buyback, depending on how he develops somewhere else. But he is certainly a player I've been impressed with over the years. And then we also have got 4 players. Devin Mabama, he's been really good in his development at Manchester City. The intention is to let him leave the club on loan, develop, and maybe come back as a backup to Erling Haaland. I genuinely do believe he's got the quality to be part of this Manchester City side. That ends up the squad rebuild. We're going to start the next episode with all the transfers happening, players leaving, players joining, and of course the FIFA Club World Cup as well to enjoy, which I am really, really excited about. The FIFA Club World Cup. This time, this save, we're going to go on and win it. I am going to put everything into that. Thanks for watching. Please like the video if you haven't already. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you want to see these videos extended and you want to see them early, you want to know what players we've signed after watching this video, you might get to find out quite a few players we've signed if you join the members club and see the early access. Honestly, it's worth it. We'll see you guys next time.